The Justice Department released transcripts and audio from an interview conducted last month with Jeffrey Epstein's ex-girlfriend, Ghislaine Maxwell. The transcripts cover 2 days' worth of interviews between Maxwell and Deputy Attorney General Todd Blanche. She is currently serving a 20-year sentence in federal prison for crimes committed with Epstein, which involved trafficking of underage girls on Epstein's behalf. Scripps News legal affairs correspondent Avijoy Burnett is joining me live from Washington, D.C. And Avijoy, you've been looking at these documents, at the hundreds of pages of transcripts. What did you find?
Well, this is information that came out just this afternoon, and you're right, more than 100 pages of transcripts between Ghislaine Maxwell and the Deputy Attorney General of the United States, Todd Blanche. And what we're able to find out here are some of the high-profile people that Ghislaine Maxwell said was in the presence of Jeffrey Epstein. But what's more important here is the type of settings that some of these people were in the presence of Jeffrey Epstein in. For example, President Donald Trump's name came up. Remember, this is years ago, decades in some circumstances. So she talks about President Donald Trump. In her first time meeting President Donald Trump, she speaks about him very glowingly. She said, quote, "He was very cordial and very kind to me." She also talked about how her father looked towards Donald Trump in a very pleasant way. There was one particular moment where the Deputy Attorney General, Todd Blanche, wanted to figure out what types of settings was Donald Trump at the time. He was not president at the time. What type of settings was Donald Trump in with Jeffrey Epstein? And in one exchange, Todd Blanche asked Ghislaine Maxwell, was that in social settings or was that in private settings? And Ghislaine Maxwell answered, "I believe I only ever saw them in social settings. I don't recall any private settings." So the implication there is that Donald Trump was never in private settings with Jeffrey Epstein, someone who was accused of abusing young girls behind closed doors in private settings. And then we also know that the name of former President Bill Clinton also the name of former President Bill Clinton also came up. And there was a particular exchange with regards to that as well. And I'm going to read a portion of it here for you. Pretty much, she was asked if there was ever a situation where she saw Bill Clinton getting massages. Massages were, according to prosecutors, correlated with circumstances where young girls were abused by Jeffrey Epstein and people who were around him. Those are the allegations that really never went to court in Jeffrey Epstein's case because he died before he actually went to trial. And what Ghislaine Maxwell answered in that particular circumstance is that she never saw Bill Clinton in a setting where he was getting massages from some of these people, young girls possibly, who were in the presence of Jeffrey Epstein. And then there is also this thing that has been swirling for quite a bit that has to do with a client list. It has to do with high-profile people who were allegedly around Jeffrey Epstein, and these were people who really got services from Jeffrey Epstein when he possibly, allegedly provided young girls to these people. So in one instance, Todd Blanche asked, quote, "So there's been a lot of conversation about whether Mr. Epstein maintained like a list of people, like a book of famous people that he knew, like it's called a black book or a client list or a list. Did you know of the existence of such list?" Ghislaine Maxwell answered and said, "There is no list. We'll start with that. The genesis of that story I can actually trace for you from its absolute inception, if that is what you're interested in." So she has said in this interview, which really is on the record now for everyone to see, that there is no client list. Remember, everyone, Jeffrey Epstein is accused of abusing girls, and the government said he died by suicide in jail before he was actually able to go to trial. Ghislaine Maxwell was asked if she believes that he actually died by suicide while behind bars, and she says she does not believe he took his own life. But of course, there are no additional details from her on who she believes actually killed Jeffrey Epstein. Remember, the official line from officials is that Jeffrey Epstein died behind bars by suicide before he was actually able to go to trial. This is something that has garnered so much attention because many people, even supporters of President Donald Trump, have wanted to see additional details regarding to what's known as the Epstein files. And it's something where the president has had to push back even against his supporters who believe that the Department of Justice is involved in a cover-up. And so this is why we're now seeing these transcripts of this recording between one of the highest ranking government officials here in the United States and an interview that he had with Ghislaine Maxwell, who currently is serving a 20-year sentence behind bars. Steph?
Scripps News legal affairs correspondent Ava Joy Burnett, thank you for digging through all of those transcripts on our behalf. We appreciate it.